Howdy doing, everyone? Mr. Howdy here, and it's come to my attention that spring is soon coming to an end. Quite sad, really. So before then, I thought we'd dive into one foxy lady, that lady being Yae Miko, who just screams spring, 'cause she always be rocking them cherry blossoms. Let's get to it. Alright, let's start off with Yae Miko's name, starting with the Yae part of her name, written like this, which means multi-layered, which is quite fitting for our girl, since she has so many sides to herself. Then, let's take a look at the second part of her name, Miko, which means Shrine Maiden. So altogether, her name means multi-layered Shrine Maiden. Now, if that's not one of the most on-the-nose names I've seen in Genshin, I don't know what is. Now, there is one other name she is referred to as, which is Guji, which just means head priest, since she is the head priest of the Narukami Shrine. Alright, moving on from Yae Miko's name, let's move into the mythology behind her, which mainly stems from Yoko, or fox spirits, also known as Huriqing in Chinese mythology, which is actually where they originate. Now, an interesting aspect of Yoko is that they have various abilities, such as shape-shifting, which they often use to transform into attractive men or women. And the interesting thing about this skill is it's usually gained after them living for about 100 years, although there are some tales that say it takes about 50 years to gain this skill. Just depends on the story source you're reading. Now, another interesting aspect of Yoko is that some of them have the ability of possession and can temporarily take over a human body to do their bidding. Now, one of the most fascinating aspects, at least to me, are the tails of a Yoko, or fox spirit, which indicate their age. Now, it is said after about 100 years, a Yoko gains a new tail. If we were to look at Yae Miko in this clip here, how many tails do we see? 5. Now that would make her about... Now that would make her about... Oh my gosh, Yae, come on. Let me talk. Okay, now that would make her, at least according to mythology, over 400 years old because she has 5 tails. An additional tail for each year. Now, a fox is born with a tail already, so 1, 2, 3, 400 years would have passed to gain 4 extra tails. So 5 tails, 400 years old. However, the Genshin mythos seems to tackle this slightly differently and count each tail as 100 years, because there's a thing within the story of Genshin that indicates she's more around 500 years or slightly older than that. So, I guess, at least in Genshin, she's over 500 years old. A Yoko can also ascend to become a Super Saiyan. No, it's not a Super Saiyan. They're actually called Tenko, or 1,000-year fox. But Tenko actually means heavenly fox. Now, they achieve this, as I mentioned, after living for 1,000 years. And the reason I joke that they become a Super Saiyan is because their fur color changes to either a golden color, or they can also become a white color. Now, it is said that when they achieve this 1,000-year ascension to a Tenko, they gain omniscience and pretty much just know everything. In other words, they are just at their most powerful. They're pretty much just straight up gods after living 1,000 years and ascending to a Tenko, fox spirit. And an interesting thing about Tenko is that this stage of ascension is referenced in the game in one of Yae Miko's abilities. And this would be from her burst skill, Great Secret Art, Tenko Kenshin, which can mean manifestation of the heavenly fox. It can also mean manifestation of the sky fox, although I personally think manifestation of the heavenly fox sounds way cooler. Now, I would love to keep blabbering on about Yoko or fox spirits, but I would love to keep this video to a reasonable size. So, I will leave it at that, and now we're going to move on to the voice actors of Yae Miko. which is always one of my most favorite parts to talk about. Alright, moving on to our voice actor section. Let's start with our English voice actor, Ratana. Ratana doesn't have a ton of really standout roles, but there are a few of note, such as Dr. Petra from the Netflix show Tresse. She's also Bello from Space Channel 5 VR. She also voices Leone from Fire Emblem Three Houses, as well as Leone in Fire Emblem Heroes. Another Fire Emblem Heroes character she voices is Ishtar. And last but not least, she also voices Lian Shi from Dynasty Warriors 9. Aside from that, there's not much else that she is really known for doing, but I'm hoping we get to hear more of her voice in the future. Moving on to our Japanese voice actress, Ayane Sakura. Now, this was really hard because she has so many roles that she's known for, but I had to shave it down to what was most standout to me, that I personally knew and things like that, and that I hope some of you might know. Starting out with some of the biggest standout roles with anime is Akane from Butts and Friendship, the anime. I mean, Vivid Red Operation. Also, she has voiced Gabby from Attack on Titan. She has also voiced Haru from Nisekoi. And last but not least, but one of her biggest anime standout roles has gotta be Uraraka from My Hero Academia. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Now, some of her video game roles are as follows, starting with Fire Emblem Hero. In Fire Emblem Heroes, she voices Yulia and Minerva. And from the Fate Grand Order series, she voices Queen Meb and Miyamoto Musashi, who is one of my favorite FGO characters, ever. I mean, look at her, she's so cool. Now, last but not least, here's one other character that she voices, Yae Sakura from Honkai Impact 3rd. Is it just me, or does Yae Sakura look quite familiar? She looks a lot like Yae Miko. Quite interesting indeed. But actually, not that strange at all, because Yae Miko's design was strongly influenced by Yae Sakura. And I'm sure you can see the resemblance as much as I can. And if I recall, we had a similar situation with Raiden Shogun, didn't we? Funny how Honkai Impact has such influence on some of the characters in Genshin. Coincidence? Nah. I think we know what Hoyoverse is doing. Now, with that said, that's about all I have to say about Yae Miko for the time being. However, before I go, here's a hint at the next character I will be talking about, so listen closely. Starting in 3, 2, 1, here is your hint. Now, I wonder who that could be. Tell me in the comments below who you think is next, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Genshin Impact character dive. This is Mr. Howry, out.